Today, I'm going to show 3 iconic effects chains that will level up your production game. Number 1. The gated rooms. As far as I know, this one is used first by Tony Visconti and the track was Heroes by David Bowie. To make it easier to understand, we will start this one with a chart. So on the left hand side we have the dry signal and on the right hand side we have the process signal. So this is the dry signal, there's no effect on it, but the first parallel chain will be a small room. It's a classic, right? And this parallel chain will be 100% wet and we will mix it in later on with the dry signal. The trick comes with the second parallel chain and this is very cool one. In the second parallel chain, first of all, we will have a bigger shimmering room. Problem with the shimmering reverbs, they can overwhelm the track very easily. The genius idea of Tony Visconti was that adding a gate right before the big room reverb, only use it when the vocal gets really loud. So we will have this really lush reverb jumping into the mix, but otherwise we will have the smaller room reverb to keep everything a bit more consistent. In the mix part, we mix them separately. That super wet reverb won't be that much room reverb and dry signal will be of course the loudest. Let's implement this in Ableton now. I have these vocals coming from my vocal tools.
It's how I am. It's how I am.
This is not released yet, but it's coming. First, we will start with adding a small room reverb. Before we processing it, we are gonna group this up so that we can create our parallel signal paths, right? Let's call it small room. If you right click here and create a chain, this will be our dry signal. So if I solo dry signal,
It's how I
small room signal, 100% wet, cool lush reverb. The only thing that I tend to use in this case is just adding a compressor, sidechain to the dry signal, right? Pre-effects. When the dry signal comes in, we are ducking this reverb a little bit.
It's how I am. It's how I am.
Beautiful. Now, do you see these peaks here on the vocal? These are extremely useful for that big room effects that we were talking about. Right click, create a chain. This one we will call big room and we will introduce big shimmering reverb here. Problem, now it's playing all the time, so I'm gonna add a gate. When the sound level reaches your threshold, the gate will open. Let the signal pass through, otherwise gate will be closed. I wanna catch this thing right here. We are just getting those peaks, bringing in this very shimmering reverb. Now again, copy that sidechain compressor here as well. Do you see how it breathes when the vocal disappears? Let's mix this a little bit better. Something like this.
It's how I am. It's how I am.
Isn't this so cool? But of course, being me, we're gonna spice this up. The one thing that I want to introduce immediately is a delay. When this shimmers, I want it to delay right and left, enhance the ambience even more. So we have this ping pong delay. If I solo it here, you will hear a bit better. Very cool effect. Gorgeous. And once everything's said and done, introduce a glue compressor so that when everything adds up together, we don't really go over the top. Something like this. Everything is a bit more balanced. And all together now.
It's how I am. It's how I am.
Number 2. Parallel maximizer. If you are producing any loud electronic music genres, you're gonna use this one way or another. It's a very typical thing to get the things louder, distorted, dirtier, and so on. So I have this gorgeous preset here. Sauvy and aggressive. Lacks a bit this third, that's aggressiveness. Take a look at the shape of the sound in Prel. So they are sharp, hence this plucky character of the sound. You can just change the envelope. It will be just a bit more sustained sound, but it won't get the sound dirtier, more aggressive. What can you do? You can either go play with the effects here, that sometimes works, but we will take a look at something that's called a parallel maximizer. Brings in the harmonics in the sound while making the things louder. So this chain starts with a clipper. I'm gonna use free clip. What I'm going to do, like we did before, Ctrl G, create new chain. This will be our dry chain and this will be our wet chain. This is our clipper here. It does exactly what it says, it just clips the audio. And then you have different type of algorithms. Oversampling to increase the quality of the clipping itself. It will also increase, let's say, less linear clipping. But we want something a bit more sustained, lying under the original sound and make everything a bit dirtier. Something like this is fine for me. One thing that you can also consider is actually using something like OTT. It works like a clipper, but it squashes everything down. So if you decrease the, for example, attack, it will act like a clipper. But I like the free clip because it's what cool people do. No, it's not, of course. I feel like clipper gives maybe more possibility to shape the dynamics. The clipping itself introduces a bit harmonics, but it is not enough. Hence, I'm going to introduce now the trash. This is a distortion plugin. You can use anything. I like this one because it can get very aggressive. This brings all this dirt into the sound itself. Again, it's up to you what you want to use here. I like trash, like I said. The third thing that we can do also here is maybe play around with the stereo field, something like Dimension Expander. This is just a free plugin, by the way. We have the original signal already there, so we don't need to focus too much on the stereo. We can enhance a little bit. And finally, I'm going to introduce the compressor one more time. There we can actually duck the signal a bit, but then let it go and bring in the dirt and the tail and everything between. Sidechain to pre-effects. We will do a look ahead, so we start ducking before the dry signal hits. Without the parallel chain. With parallel chain. We are getting all this loud and dirt, but we are increasing the volume on the 2 dB. This is really perfect. And here you can think about the mixing, right? Really cut the low and cut the super highs. Peak time, techno peak here. And the final touch will be, of course, giving some reverb and delay on top. This is just a perfect techno lead sound, right? Any peak time, main room, or the loud lead sounds that you have, if you want to get this dirt and richness in it, Maximizer is easiest way to go. Number 3, colored shimmerizers. I have this beautiful loop coming from Artbat and Camel Fat. At the moment we have a drop. Very cool, but it's not enough. Something is missing, right? So we need to build our shimmering, colorful riser effects. Don't you ever dare to just drop into sample? No, we are not gonna do it this way. First, lazy. 2, harder to glue the track because that riser coming from someone else may sound really a bit off. We start with a return channel. We're gonna send this. Let's do quite a bit. First step is putting a distortion overdrive, something that distorts the sound. So I'm gonna bring in an overdrive, pushing all the highs and driving a little bit more, and then we will of course use our reverb. You should at least have 3-4 seconds decay time so that you can build up the ambience. One of my favorite reverb lately, hybrid reverb. Listen how it builds up on itself. You start to lose really arpeggio there, and this is exactly what we are looking for. Now the fun part begins. Introduce actually auto pan, going right and left and right and left and faster and faster. The rate over here will decide how fast this will go, like slow, right and left, and fast. You get the idea already. Getting closer to drop, getting faster with the auto pan, automated on your timeline so that you can visually see it, right? Here slow, here fast. It very much increases the tension while we are approaching. Now you want to introduce kind of a frequency shifter or ring modulation really. We have a new device that is called Shimmer. I wanted to use this for a while, but you could also use old frequency shifter. Let me show you what it does. It rings the incoming signal, basically move the frequencies to the right. While we are approaching drop, we are going up. Now one more thing to make it even more colorful, adding kind of a phaser, flanger. Now it will be just sound all the time. Right, this just gives this kind of nice movement to the sound. This is like not necessary, but it's a nice touch. Finally, probably the most important part, the filter setup. So there are two ways of doing it. The easiest one, of course, adding auto filter. While you're approaching the drop, you just move it right? If you want the effects a bit less obvious, unfortunately we don't have the dry wet control in auto filter, but you can also use EQ8. So what you do, you create a bell curve like this, and instead you automate the bell curve, like moving to the left to the right. The more gain, the more obvious effect. Right, start maybe somewhere around here, and then you go up a little bit more. Right, very cool. And of course, final touch, if you want to introduce a compressor. The easiest one is the glue compressor. Give me a threshold. When it gets louder, tuck the signal down. Very easy. Because we are using all those effects and so on, it can sometimes get quieter, it can get sometimes louder. Compressor is just there to balance a little bit. And if you take a listen all together now with the original track. If you want to learn more about pro producers and how they create their effects chains, I have a video just about that. 10 professional producers showing their tricks so that you know exactly how they do.